For 17 years, he was the prince in exile, living in London, a fugitive to his critics, a leader-in-waiting to his supporters.
Well, the wait is over. As of this week, after a massive election victory, he is set to become the Prime Minister of Bangladesh.
It's just a stunning reversal of fortune. I mean, if you rewind just 2 years, the idea that Tarique Rahman could even set foot in Bangladesh, let alone run it, seemed, well, it seemed impossible. He was facing life sentences in prison.
And now he has the keys to the castle. But this deep dive isn't just about the comeback. That's actually the easy part of the story.
Right.
The hard part, and what we're going to try and figure out, is who exactly has just returned. Is this the same man who left in 2008? And maybe more importantly, does his return mean a new chapter for Bangladesh? Or are we just watching that same old dynastic seesaw swing back again?
That is the trillion-taka question, isn't it? Because the country he's come back to is fundamentally different from the one he left. It has been through a revolution, a student-led revolution, and over a year of just absolute turmoil.
So let's start with that mandate he has. We're recording just a few days after the polls closed. You called it a landslide. I was looking at the numbers. And Rahman's party, the BNP, and their coalition, they took a 2/3 majority.
A supermajority.
In any democracy, that's changed the constitution power.
It's a massive number on paper. But we have to be a little careful with that word landslide, because it implies he beat a really strong opponent. But in reality, the other main team, they weren't even allowed to play.
Right, the Awami League, Sheikh Hasina's party. The former prime minister who was kicked out in the 2024 revolution, they were banned.
Which puts a giant asterisk next to this whole victory.
Yeah.
I mean, for 55 years, Bangladesh's politics has basically been a boxing match between these two parties. With the Awami League disqualified, the BNP was just shadowboxing.
So who was even running against him?
The main opposition was Jamaat-e-Islami. And interestingly, they allied with some of the new parties, the ones formed by the student leaders from the uprising.
Okay.
But even altogether, they just didn't have the political machine to stop the BNP.
I want to zoom in on voting day for a second because the atmosphere tells you a lot. The reports describe him voting in this wealthy part of Dhaka. And it's not some calm, quiet thing. There are police on horseback trying to hold back this huge crush of people.
It was chaotic. And that chaos is really symbolic of the state of the country.
So Rahman votes, he gives a quick soundbite, and then security literally has to shove him into an SUV to get away. And as the car is inching through this mob, he says something really telling. He doesn't talk about the economy or foreign policy. He says his #1 priority is to improve the law and order situation so that people can feel safe.
And that phrasing is so deliberate. Law and order. It feels basic, but you have to understand the context. Since the 2024 revolution, the police force, it kind of collapsed for a while. There was a power vacuum. Instability. People are just exhausted.
They're not looking for a visionary, they're looking for a sheriff.
Exactly. And Rahman knows that.
But can he be that sheriff? This is where we have to peel back the layers on his reputation. I think for a global audience, it's easy to miss how deep these dynasty roots go.
Though it's not like in the U.S. with the Bushes or Clintons.
Not at all.
In Bangladesh, it is woven into the DNA of the nation's birth. Rahman is the ultimate political scion.
Yeah. So let's just map out the family tree, because it's pretty wild. His father was Ziaur Rahman,
a military general who became president and founded the BNP, Rahman's party. He was assassinated in 1981. Tarique was just a teenager then.
and his mother, Khalida Zia.
Bangladesh's first female prime minister. She was in power for over a decade, on and off. And their biggest rival, Sheikh Hasina, is the daughter of the other founding father of the country.
It's literally two families fighting over the country for 55 years. The Battle of the Begums. But Tarique Rahman wasn't just some kid in the background. Back in the early 2000s, during his mother's second term, he earned himself a nickname. And it wasn't a nice one. They called him the Hatchet Man.
And that's the period that makes his critics so nervous now. From 2001 to 2006, he didn't have an official cabinet job. He wasn't a minister. But he was widely seen as the second most powerful person in the country.
How does that even work? If you don't have a title, how do you have the power?
Through something called the Hawa Paban. It was his political office, separate from his mother's. The allegation was that it became a parallel center of power. If you wanted a business contract or a government deal, you didn't go to the ministry. You went to Hawa Paban.
The gatekeeper model.
Exactly. And the Hatchet Man name came from his role as the enforcer. He was accused of using that power to crush dissent, and there were these widespread allegations of, well, of massive corruption. extortion, and bribery.
It sounds like something out of a gangster film. But it all came crashing down in 2007 when a caretaker government took over.
Right, this was a unique system Bangladesh used to have. The idea was that between elections, a neutral, non-political group would take over for a few months just to make sure the vote was fair.
A referee, basically.
A referee. But in 2007, the military stepped in to back that government, and they stayed for 2 years to, quote, clean up politics. That's when they arrested Tarique Rahman.
And the reports from that time, they're brutal. He claims he was tortured in custody.
And the medical reports that came out later seem to support that. He came out of that physically broken. And in 2008, it seems a deal was made. He was released on bail and allowed to fly to London for medical treatment.
On the condition he'd stay out of politics.
Right. And so began the wilderness years. 17 years.
An eternity in politics. And he didn't just sit around in London. This part is fascinating. He sort of became the first Zoom politician. After his mother was jailed in 2018, he became the acting chairman of the BNP.
He was running a massive political party in South Asia from a laptop in suburban London.
But while he's running the party, the courts back home are running cases against him.
Dozens of them. The most serious one involved a 2004 grenade attack on a rally that killed 24 people and almost killed Sheikh Hasina.
And he was accused of masterminding it.
He was sentenced to life in prison in absentia.
That's not just corruption, that's a terrorism charge.
It is. But he and his party always said these were political hit jobs, fabricated charges to keep him out of the country forever. And sure enough, the moment Sheikh Hasina fell in 2024, the legal tide turned. He was acquitted of those charges right before he came back.
So, legally, clean slate, but emotionally, the timing is almost cinematic. He lands on December 25th, 2025, 5 days later. Just 5 days. His mother, Khalida Zia, passes away.
It creates this incredible emotional narrative. He returns just in time to say goodbye. The torch isn't passed, it's sort of dropped, and he has to pick it up. He goes from being the returning son to the singular head of the party in 1 week.
And people are noticing a change in him. There's a quote from a businessman who knew him back in the day who says Rahman is smarter now. He's wearing these, intellectual-looking glasses. He's speaking softly. He's not the guy shouting at rallies anymore.
It is a very conscious rebrand. He's trying to get away from that hatchet man image. He wants to project himself as a statesman who spent 17 years in the West, learning, maturing. The rhetoric is completely different.
Okay, so let's look at the substance. The Rahman agenda. His slogan is Bangladesh before all. But buried in the policies are some things that seem really undynastic, specifically term limits.
This is the real shocker. He is proposing a 2-term, 10-year limit for prime ministers.
I just have to pause on the irony there. The guy whose family has been in power for decades, who inherited his job by blood, is the one saying we need to limit power.
It is deeply ironic, but it's also smart politics. He saw what happened to Sheikh Hasina. She stayed for 15 years, got rid of term limits, and the whole system exploded. Rahman is signaling to the public, and especially to the students, I won't become a dictator. I will check my own power.
But do we believe it? Is that a promise that's easy to break when you have a supermajority?
That's the risk, of course. Constitutions can always be changed. But at least he's starting with that on his platform.
What about the economy? You mentioned it's fragile. Bangladesh is famous for garments, right? The t-shirt factory of the world.
And that's a huge vulnerability. Rahman wants to diversify leather goods, toys. But the bigger shift might be in foreign policy.
The India pivot.
Exactly. Sheikh Hasina was seen as India's closest ally. Many Bangladeshis felt she was too close. Rahman's pivoting hard away from that. He's looking for investment from China, the West, the Middle East, anywhere but New Delhi.
Which sounds good on paper, but isn't that incredibly risky? India surrounds Bangladesh on 3 sides.
It's a high-wire act. You can't just wish away your biggest neighbor. If he antagonizes India too much, they can squeeze Bangladesh on everything from trade to water. It will require some very delicate diplomacy.
Now, we have to talk about the friction point here. The students. The 2024 revolution wasn't a BNP movement.
Not at all. It was Gen Z university students. They were the ones on the streets.
And they wanted system change, not just a regime change. They wanted to get rid of the entire dynastic structure.
Correct. They didn't want Hasina, but they didn't necessarily want the BNP back either. For a lot of them, they're just 2 sides of the same corrupt coin.
So how did they end up in an alliance with Rahman?
It was a marriage of convenience. The students have the moral authority, but the BNP has the political machine, the voters in the villages. They needed each other to make sure the election actually happened.
And now that the election is won, The marriage could get rocky.
Very rocky. There's a real fear among the student leaders that the seesaw is just swinging back, that the BNP will slap their own people into all the positions of power, and the corruption will just continue under a different flag.
Rahman is promising a top-down, no-tolerance approach to corruption. He says no revenge.
Talk is cheap, especially in Bangladeshi politics. That hatchet man reputation is sticky for a reason.
There's a quote from an analyst, Mahyuddin Ahmed, that really stuck with me. He said, Rahman has seen the dark corners of politics.
And that's a double-edged sword. He knows how the dirty game is played because he played it. The optimistic view is that he uses that knowledge to clean house. The pessimistic view is that he uses it to build a more efficient, corrupt machine for himself.
The poacher-turned-gamekeeper argument?
Exactly. And he doesn't have much time. The honeymoon period for this government will be weeks, not months. Inflation is high. The streets are still tense. If the students feel betrayed, they know how to organize now. They've already toppled one government.
That's a chilling thought for any new leader. You're governing a population that has just realized its own power.
It should keep him honest, at least in theory.
So we have the return of the exile. He's survived his father's assassination, his mother's death, prison, torture, 17 years of waiting. He has reclaimed the throne.
But now he actually has to govern, and he has to do it while proving he isn't the man he used to be.
It's a real test case. Can the ultimate insider be the one to finally break the cycle? Or does the weight of history just pull everyone back down in the end?
We're about to find out. The first 100 days will be critical. Watch who gets appointed, watch what happens with the police, and watch the relationship with the students.
We will be watching.